How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Chair Talk. Guys, this video has been out since, I believe, October 14th or the 15th. I haven't covered it because I was waiting to find out the results of what happened here. But basically, it's what on the surface looks like a terrifying night caught on camera. But there's been an update to this story. And basically, was it as terrifying as we thought? I want to show you this video real quick, and I got an update that came out today about this that made me want to cover this because this gets me frustrated. So this is the video here. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with this. Let me play it.
But this was no nightmare.
Open the door!
It was a reality for one Alexandria family.
Either you come out or we coming in!
It happened around 10 p.m. Tuesday near Duke and South Jordan Streets in Alexandria.
At first, I thought it was just a Halloween joke, a little prank. So I said, Happy Halloween.
Shayla says she thought they'd leave, but they didn't. So she called 911 and told them cops were on the way, but the trio seemed unfazed.
And they kept knocking on the door. The knocks would get harder and harder.
Open the door!
And they threatened to kill us.
When they couldn't get in through the front, she says they came around back.
This whole thing, they broke down, as you could tell.
She showed us the damage.
So did they actually go in there?
Oh, yes, ma'am. They hopped up on here and they came through.
She says they went right up to the glass.
They were just hitting the window.
She says they finally left after about 10 minutes. Police were at their home Wednesday. She says this is not a joke.
It's not even a joke gone wrong. They tried to enter into the home. My heart dropped when they said that they were going to take a chair and break down the door. That is just too much.
She says it's left their whole family shaken up, especially her mother.
My dad recently just died, so it's just I'm just glad I was there. Now she's in fear. She don't want to stay there by herself.
She says this could have ended much differently.
It could have been bad. Our Second Amendment right was not used and could have been, being very transparent.
To the people behind these masks,
that was given grown-up activity. The time frame alone, 10 o'clock at night, to knock on someone's door in costume is never okay. Halloween, not Halloween, it's never okay.
Now, guys, there's a twist to this. And I would love to get your insight on this. So as you can see, on the evening of October 14, 2025, in Alexandria, Virginia, a family's sense of safety was shattered when three masked figures appeared at their front door. The costumes were grotesque. One wore a cracked clown mask with wild hair. Another, a blank-faced figure resembling a horror movie killer. I'm talking about Mike Myers. And the third, a hooded mask and a twisted grin. These weren't silent trick-or-treaters. They issued direct threats. Come out or we come in or we'll kill you. Inside the home were a widowed mother, her daughter, Shayla, her younger son, and their dog. Imagine losing your spouse, then weeks later hearing masked strangers demanding entry into your home. The terror must have felt immediate and real. The entire scene was captured on the family doorbell camera. The eerie footage spread quickly online, sparking outrage and fear across the community. Now imagine this, if you were alone at home with your children, if you were at home, can't be alone at home with your children, but if you were at home with your children and saw masked strangers on your porch making threats, would you assume it's a prank or prepare for the worst? I'm preparing for the worst. I'm thinking purge. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm thinking purge. But I'm definitely going to be calling the police right away. When I first saw this video, it was freaky to me. My wife had a similar experience when I was working on an overnight shift, and there were a bunch of kids out front, I want to say being kids, but they really weren't. They were being obscene. They were yelling things. They were wearing masks, and my wife called me. I said, hey, at this point, call the neighbor because I was at work across the street, and then call the police. They were just young kids pranking, but it really is no joke. So again, I'll check this out, guys. There's an investigation here. So police treated this as a potential home invasion. Over 100 investigative hours were spent combing through footage, canvassing the neighborhood, and interviewing the family. To law enforcement, everything about the situation looked criminal. Threats of violence, possible forced entry attempts, as you could see in the video, masked intruders arriving under cover of darkness. But the shocking truth came later. After interviews and reviews, Alexandria Police Department discovered it was staged. The masked trio were actors, and more surprisingly, the family itself had allegedly been in on it. What the public thought was a near horrific crime turned out to be a performance. Guys, this went national. Now, the funny thing is, I'm hoping that this update also goes national. I only saw this on one outlet so far. So here's a question here. Should law enforcement always assume real until proven fake? 100%. And if so, how do they balance that with the danger of wasting critical resources? It is what it is, sadly. And that's why people have to be held accountable. Law enforcement, even in corrections, even if you think you're being played, you have to treat everything as if it's real. And sometimes when you get played so much, it starts to erode on the credibility of the allegation or the complaint, but it doesn't matter. You have to treat everything with that same level of urgency. You can't let that urgency get eroded. So this case here, you have to be held accountable because at the end of the day, they put 100 hours of investigative resources into that. Imagine where those resources could have otherwise been utilized. So the chief's warning, it was acting chief. I got Tarek McGuire. There was a chief named Don Hayes, but Don Hayes is the permanent chief. But at this point, it was the acting chief, Tarek McGuire, who addressed the public. McGuire was blunt. This was not a prank to laugh off, but a serious moral failure. He emphasized the very real dangers. What if an armed neighbor thought the home was really under attack and fired at the masked trio? What if responding officers entered believing it was a violent break-in and someone got caught in the crossfire? And what if panic led to someone getting seriously hurt or killed? The message was clear. Pranks that mimic crimes are not jokes. They are ticking time bombs that could end in tragedy. Little another thought here is when does a joke stop being funny and start becoming reckless endangerment? Hopefully no one watching this finds this funny because it wasn't funny. This had the potential to blow up in so many different ways. So I got some broader concerns here. For public safety, for neighbors who saw the footage, the message was terrifying. Masked predators were roaming the streets. Fear spreads faster than facts. Once a community feels unsafe, it can take months or years to repair that sense of security. The incident also raised concerns about the castle doctrine in Virginia. While not a pure stand your ground state, Virginia law allows homeowners to defend themselves with lethal force if they reasonably believe they're in imminent danger inside their homes. A prank like this could easily trigger that response with fatal consequences for the pranksters. So in this case, the family that was in the home was affected. What about if I was a neighbor and I saw someone trying to break into their home? You think I'm going to sit there idle and allow that to happen? She's a recently widowed mother. And shame on this family for even being a part of this prank. So again, how would this incident affect your trust in neighborhood safety? Guys, this video went viral. So I'll guarantee you why they're trying to figure out who did this. I'll guarantee you since the 14th till now, people are sleeping terrified. You know, and these people in masks going up to the cameras, threatening to come into your home, threatening to kill you. And they're not being able to find a resolution to that. You know, they were still looking for you. That's why police spent 100 hours right away on top of this. And then to find out it's all a joke. People slept in fear for so far, 2 weeks? Everyone's sleeping in fear. So again, the police resources, over 100 hours of police manpower were spent investigating this stage incident. That's 100 hours that could have gone to real emergencies, domestic disputes, missing children, violent crimes, actual home invasions. In an era where police departments are often understaffed and communities demand faster response times, hoax incidents represent a significant drain on already stretched resources. So again, should people who stage hoax crimes be held financially responsibility for the wasted police resources? At a minimum, restitution, 100%. And should there be criminal penalties beyond just restitution? Yes. Because you have to showcase that this is not allowed. You have to do what you can to defer defer. You have to do what you can to deter. Sorry, so used to using that word in other things. You have to do what you can to deter. Prank versus crime. The masked trio acted out every element of a crime. They acted out threats, intimidations, attempts to breach a door. Even if the intent was humor or content creation, that's a concern now, right? People are doing crazy stuff because they want to go viral. The behavior mirrored felony level conduct. So under Virginia law, threatening violence can constitute assault even without physical contact. The fact that it was staged doesn't change how it appeared to witnesses or how it could have triggered defensive responses. So, again, just another question. Should laws be updated to make it clearer when a prank crosses into criminal behavior, or are existing statutes sufficient if properly enforced? That's something we have to look into, because I'm very curious what is going to happen here. And I have a few ideas of what they can be charged with as we go further down. So police were blunt about it. Parents need to step up. If youth are staging dangerous pranks, it's not harmless rebellion. It's a sign of adult failure to teach boundaries and consequences. The incident raises questions about supervision, digital literacy, and whether parents understand the risks their children are taking in pursuit of viral content. And again, just a question, what roles do parents play when their kids' fun could look like a felony to the outside world? Should parents face legal consequences when minors they're responsible for stage dangerous hoaxes? Guys, that's a concern right now, right? Everybody wants to go viral, and they'll do crazy stuff to go viral. And this right here, to me, is crazy. So the social media influence. So videos of pranks that often go viral, sometimes rewarded with millions of views, likes, and shares. Young people can start chasing clout at the expense of safety. Stunts escalate. The line between content creation and criminal conduct starts to blur. And the monetization of extreme content creates perverse incentives. The more shocking and dangerous the prank, the more engagement it generates, and potentially the more money it makes. And then you got the platforms that push it out because they're making money. They should immediately, when there's a concern like this, cancel their accounts. So do you think social media platforms bear any responsibility when their algorithms reward dangerous behavior? Yes, I do. I know that they probably have their lawyers that can defend against all that, because at the end of the day, they made the content, but you're promoting it. And then you're also rewarding it. Because once you promote it, it gets tossed into the algorithm, it gets engagement, it gets likes, and the attention's like dopamine. And then you monetize it. Sure, you may put a disclaimer, we don't recommend you do this at home or for adults only, but at the end of the day, come on. You can't really control who's watching that. And should there be consequences for platforms that profit from content depicting criminal acts? 100%, they should have consequences, because they're promoting it, and at some level it's encouraging people to do it because they see the reward of just being seen, attention. This is a day and age where people want attention. Then you got the copycat risk. So with national headlines, there's now the chance others will imitate the masked trio prank. Police know well, the more sensational the stunt, the more likely someone tries to one-up it. Each iteration tends to push boundaries further. What started as a doorbell prank could escalate to someone actually entering a home, leading to a confrontation with potentially deadly consequences. Could become a trend. Or maybe they're trying to start a trend. Question here is, how can communities prevent copycat crimes when stories like this spread online so quickly? Should media outlets adopt guidelines about how they cover these incidences to minimize glamorization? They need to make sure that they put deterrence somewhere in there so it doesn't take off, because sometimes when you put something in the media, even in your effort to stop or prevent, people say, hey, that's attention. And even bad attention is good attention for what I want. So you wind up pushing it out there and people wind up copycatting it. So they need to know that it's consequences. There's punishment for these actions. And there's a zero tolerance. So again, even with the acting, was it the chief? Hold on. It was I think it was the acting chief. Let me just, where am I? Right here. Yeah, acting chief. I was right. So even the acting chief, zero tolerance. They want to play games. Well, these games are going to have adult consequences. So hopefully it deters people from doing it as well, like copying it. And then you got the psychological toll on victims. So even if the family was in on it, others watching the video, neighbors nearby, they weren't. For them, the fear was real. And once the sense of safety in your own home is broken, it doesn't return easily. Neighbors may now feel anxious every time they see someone in a costume. Parents may worry about their children's safety. The ripple effect of fear extends far beyond the immediate participants. So there's only the question of secondary trauma. People who watch the video online, especially those who have experienced real home invasions or violence, may have been genuinely distressed by what appeared to be a credible threat. So question here is, can you ever feel fully safe again after believing mass strangers were about to break in? Because again, is that my neighborhood? Is that where that happened? And then you allow the joke to go on for 14 days. And how do we measure the psychological cost of a hoax when it affects a community? So this is where I think what we have is potential charges, the legal and ethical stuff. So while the outcome is still unfolding, participants in staged criminal hoaxes could potentially face false reporting or providing false information to police. So you got the family that called it in probably. Disorderly conduct for creating public alarm. That would be all of them. Actually, all of them could be involved in all this, except the false reporting may go to the person who reported it. Criminal threats if the statement meets legal thresholds. Conspiracy charges if multiple people plan the hoax. And civil liability for the cost of the investigation. And that's key. The intent defense, the perpetrators might argue they didn't intend to cause harm. It was just entertainment, but intent is complex. Did they intend to make it look real? Did they intend for police to respond? If so, they may have intended the very consequences that occurred. So yeah, it may not, you may not have wanted it to go this far, but you guys called the police. You guys called 911. Joke is done. Once you called law enforcement and they responded, joke is done. It's not a joke anymore. And then as for content creation versus crime, this case sits on the intersection of First Amendment expression and public safety. While people have broad rights to create content, those rights don't extend to creating credible threats, inciting panic, or wasting emergency resources. People have said it's within their rights of the First Amendment. No, it's not. Not when you raise fear or cause threats or incite panic to the community. And then again, where's the line between protected expression and actionable misconduct? Does filming something make it art or content rather than a crime? This is a crime. And the false reporting is a crime. Lessons moving forward. For residents, always treat threats as real until proven otherwise. Lock doors, call police immediately. Don't investigate suspicious activity yourself. And don't assume it's just a prank. Your safety is too important to gamble on assumption, because now there's another set of kids to do. People may say, oh, that's just a prank. That's kids just doing content. And it turns out that actually that's a real one, because now you may have people that are watching it that says, hey, people are going to think this is fake. Now we can get involved and do it for real. For youth and families, understand the consequences of pranks that mimic crime. They can result in injury, arrest, criminal records, or death. Remember, I think it was an 11-year-old in Texas that was doing ding dong ditch and got shot by the homeowner. Died. Social media clout is never worth someone's life, and consider how your actions will be perceived by people who don't know it's staged. That's key. For law enforcement, they must treat every case as potentially real to protect public safety. They got to use incidents like this as teachable moments for community education. Definitely, I would definitely go as far as trying to find a way to introduce this into the schools as well and let them see what happened because of this prank. And consider working with schools. Oh, there it goes. Consider working with schools and parents on digital citizenship and consequences of viral pranks. And for communities, draw clear lines between harmless fun and dangerous behavior. Create channels for discussing concerns about viral trends. That's key. So get to know what's going viral. And support both accountability for hoaxes and education to prevent them. I think that's smart too, is really get to know what's going on viral, because if it tends to be something that really can affect safety, security, whatever it is, we got to overwhelm those platforms and say, what are you pushing out there to our teens? Because this could have easily become a viral trend until someone got shot and killed. Mess with the wrong homeowner. or the neighbors that will protect their neighbors. For social media platforms, consider policies around content depicting criminal acts, implement better content warning context, and question whether algorithms should reward increasingly dangerous behavior. Got some closing reflection here. So the Halloween mass trio case isn't just a quirky headline. It's a warning. One night, one prank, and one bad decision could have ended in tragedy. Scariest part wasn't the costumes. It was the reality that fear and violence are always one misunderstanding away from colliding. It's a nation where many people are armed and castle doctrine applies. Staging a home invasion isn't edgy humor. It's playing Russian roulette with multiple people's lives. And the incident forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our culture. Have we become so desensitized to violence that we treat it as entertainment? Have we created a digital ecosystem that rewards dangerous behavior? And are we teaching young people to think through consequences, just chase the next viral moment? And last question for us to ponder. Do you see this as a harmless prank gone too far or an act that deserves legal consequences? Where would you personally draw the line between content creation and criminal conduct? And perhaps most importantly, what does the incident reveal about the society we're creating, where the lines between reality and performance, safety and spectacle, have become so dangerously blurred? I wasn't going to cover this, but I wanted just to put it out there because once I found out it was a prank, and the lesson here is the attention we want from that social media, stuff to go viral. I think this could be extremely scary for so many reasons. I mean, outside the copycat, the people that will just do it now because they feel that now they can get away with it. Now it'd be easier for me to get in the home because we already put on, actually, this was just a prank. It's just something that's trending. So, honey, don't worry about those kids in the front of your house. This was just on the news. Turns out this is a social media prank. And then it turns out that's the one time it's not. 100 hours of resources. Imagine where that can go. We're doing videos on this channel about missing children. You know, it just concerns with resources so thin. And we have time to play a game. So I definitely think the family that called it in, the one that made the false report, I would actually really push the book on them as well. Conspiracy, whatever, the false report, everything. Hit them with everything. Restitution, everything. Because once you call an emergency responder, they could get killed driving to a scene. Once they're rushing to your home to make sure you're safe, anything could have happened. They're lucky nothing did. But what's your thought? Restitution, consequences? What would you like to see happen? As always, guys, stay safe.